Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 11th of December 2016 and this is the second last show before we wrap things up for Christmas. So next week will be the last show. Will be the annual review. And what we will be doing is we're going to have a competition and we're going to be giving 2 t-shirts away and stickers as well on the competition. We're going to have a bit of chill out and relax and just do the review of the guests that we've had on the show over the year that we had, 2016. And we'll have 1 or 2 questions and we might have a phone-in question thing. We'll have to think about it.
Well, let's hope we get a couple of calls because, you know, a lot of people do tune in to the live show every Sunday. I mean, we know that because we see them on the chat rooms. So it will be nice if we're not kind of in the interview, so to speak. We're just going to be kind of chilling and relaxing. So it would be nice if, you know, people maybe rang in and just, if you want to wish your granny a Merry Christmas, you know, it doesn't matter.
Well, if you want to wish my granny a Merry Christmas, that's fine, no problem at all.
Is she still alive?
No, she's not. She's in spirit, but she'll hear it anyway. We travel that far. Right, guest on the show tonight is Thomas Williams from the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. And what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be talking to Thomas about 2016 and again doing a kind of review of the year of 2016 with everything that went on and just get an update and things that are going on now because 2017 looks like it's going to be, I don't know, let's call it an exciting year maybe. I don't know what's planned.
Yeah, I'm just getting a feeling of deja vu.
Yeah.
I think we said this last year as well.
Yeah, I think we'll have to go back and listen to last year's pod, I should say. Yeah. Right, okay, before we do anything and talk about anything further, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels this evening.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the all-important phone number again, 046 927 1212, if you want to call in during the show. That's obviously if you're in Ireland. If you're outside Ireland, it's going to be 00353 469 271212. We also have the email info@oymradio.com. If anybody, as I have said previously, if anyone is listening to the live show or to the podcast, if you want to drop us a quick one-line email just to say hi, a virtual wave, so to speak, that will be also appreciated. And thanks to everyone who's already done that. We've got a couple of emails in during the week there from people in various different parts of the world just saying hi. It's nice to, you know, it's kind of nice to know that we're reaching people that would not normally appear on the chat room. So that's kind of cool. We also have, speaking of chat rooms, we have our own chat room on oymradio.com, which we'll be monitoring for questions, and also peoplesinternetradio.com as well. And a big hi to everyone who's already logged into the chat room. You're all very welcome on this evening. What else have we got? We have the anti-social media Facebook. Well, yeah, it's there. I don't really use it that much myself. I think I'm getting rid of it, to be totally honest. And yeah, we also have the Twitter. Yes, tweeting. If you know how to tweet, send us a tweet. If we figure out how to read it, we might read it out. And there we go. Okay, there we go. All bases covered. I
haven't done much on the Twitter thing at all. I've just been busy doing other things. Anyway, you want to kick us off, Steve?
Yes, I'm going to kick us off. And I just want to say, on the odd occasion, we get an email asking us why we may have a particular guest on. And, you know, are they cabal or a disinfo agent? Well, if 75% of the alternative media is controlled opposition, then we wouldn't have a lot of people to interview. And we wouldn't be called Open Your Mind Radio. But we are a radio station, not an audio blog. But before fingers are pointed, evidence has to be provided rather than just saying they are controlled without backing it up with evidence. You know the Chinese whispers. Well, you know what Chinese whispers are like. And if it turns out that they are, then this is no problem, as it's better to hear what they have to say, especially if it's disinfo, which will expose them and what they are pushing. So there is method in their madness.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are mad.
There you go. Basically, we don't endorse guests that coming on the show. We just want people to listen to what they have to say. And again, if it resonates with you, great stuff. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's that simple. So that's really it. So that's why. And it's because we got an email during the week. And if 75% of the alt media are controlled opposition or they're shills, trolls, or paid, or whatever, then there's very few people that we'd be able to interview, really. So, but, as you say, we try and sit on the fence. We're not going to stifle free speech and, let the listener make up their own mind of what they think.
It's all just information at the end of the day. That's all we've ever said. We're just presenting information because a lot of people, all they ever seem to hear is one side of a story, and they don't seem to hear what the other side of the other side of the coin, the other side of the story. So what we're doing is we're trying to get as many of these opposite coin sides, if you like, and just put it out there so people can hear a lot of different information and make up your own mind.
In search of the truth, wherever that is.
It's a quest for truth.
That's it, really.
Across the galaxy.
That's it. Right, okay, now, also you've probably heard during the week what's been going on, is that they have now stopped using the words like conspiracy theorist, as that seems to be a badge of honour. Now, the CIA buzzword is fake news. And so they're trying to shut down alternative news websites, calling them fake news, fake websites. And even to the level that if you have fake news or information, they might even treat you like a terrorist. Like propaganda, terrorism and all this kind of stuff. And it's just unbelievable. So that's what they're trying to do now, fake news. So all the alternative media websites and what's out there, maybe the radio shows as well, that's what they're trying to do. They're getting desperate. That's really what it is. They're getting desperate. And we all know the mainstream media, or the lamestream media, if you want to call it that, and the propaganda that they turn out, and the lies that they come out with. And it's all controlled. We know it is. And people are beginning to wake up to it. And the number of people switching off the TV sets, not watching the news, not buying the newspapers, advertisers pulling adverts, because the numbers are down, it's unbelievable, and it's escalating, which is great to see. So that's the good news. But obviously that means there's a war on the alternative media, so we just have to be careful about what goes on there, really.
Yes, unfortunately we do. But look, at the end of the day, I hope we will be triumphant, because everyone on the street, and their dog and their grandmother knows that a lot of what you read in some of the mainstream papers, or lamestream, as Alan calls them, it wouldn't be fit for purpose to wipe your rear end. There's more crap comes off the page. But anyway.
Well, can I just add to that? On the Independent.ie, which is an Irish newspaper, it said during the week that Taoiseach hits back at false news, claiming it is a real worry. And he said Taoiseach Enda Kenny, he's our Prime Minister over here in Ireland, has hit out at false news, describing the phenomenon that has arisen on social media, along with a loss of faith in democratic institutions as real worries. A loss of faith. We lost our faith a long time ago with democratic institutions. He said, we belong to a Europe and a global democratic community that are facing real challenges. Democratic institutes seem unconvincing to large numbers of people. A loss of belief in truth and fact-based evidence. A breakdown of trust. The dissemination of false facts or false news are real worries.
Really?
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black.
He's a real worry. I mean, when you see his background, and he's running the country, and as you said, and I totally agree, the man he wouldn't know how to run a business, and we have him in charge of a country.
He wouldn't even know how to run a bat, let alone a business.
Right. Okay.
Oh, ahead.
Right, we shall continue. News here from the Independent.ie. That's www.independent.ie. It says here, Gardaí, that is the Irish police force, dealt heroin to boost arrest rates, says a whistleblower. A new Garda whistleblower has alleged senior officers were involved in a plan to coerce people into buying hard drugs, including heroin, and then having them arrested so crime detection figures could be boosted. The shock disclosure was made in the Dáil by Independent TD Luke Ming Flanagan. Mr Flanagan said Garda Keogh was alleging a Garda cover-up involving stolen files a report being removed from the Pulse system, manufactured information, and the failure of officers to fully comply with court orders to disclose records. He also mentioned one case in particular where it is alleged a senior Gardaí hatched a scheme to boost drug crime detection rates. The November 2009 operation is alleged to have involved people being coerced into buying drugs only to find themselves being arrested and prosecuted. Well. Who would have thought our Gardaí would ever do anything like that?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't believe that. I'm awfully sorry. I can't believe it. I mean, that's the stuff of, TV shows. I mean, the Gardaí would never do that, would they?
No, our judicial system is as honest as the day is long.
Absolutely.
Now, on another subject, just funny enough, we're talking about how our judicial system is very honest. Again, just happens to be in the independent.ie. A former solicitor who stole €260,000 from her clients over a 3-year period has been jailed for a year. Jacqueline Durkin, 47, a mother of 5, originally from County Mayo, which is Taoiseach's county.
That's the end of stomping ground, yeah.
End of stomping ground. Carried out the thefts after a series of catastrophic investments during the property boom. Again, that's our judicial system. People from our judicial system doing a naughty.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have believed that story, only I can actually corroborate. My father used a solicitor in Dublin many years ago he needed a solicitor and he happened to use this guy. And this guy was known as the family solicitor,
Yeah.
And my father used him for a couple of years, and then he didn't kind of need his services after that, but he knew where he was if and when he needed him again. A couple of years later, he did need this solicitor, and he called down to the office, and he was no longer there. He'd done a little bit of searching and found out that he'd been struck off the register. He too, I don't know, I can't remember what he'd done. If I can find it, I'll let you know. But he was a naughty boy and struck off.
It wasn't a guy down just off the Malahide Road by any chance?
Yes.
Because I think I had the dealing with him a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about that after the show. I don't know. I mean, it's getting worse. It really is. Who do you trust if you can't even trust the judicial system? I don't know. How's your week, Steve?
Oh, look, you already know. I've had a very busy week, work-wise. It's just kind of it's off the scale really, and I haven't been doing my homework as I should, for the show. So in desperation, in absolute desperation, I tried to find some little nugget of information that I could just throw out there so people would say, "Oh, I remember he said that on Sunday," instead of going, "He didn't say that on Sunday." So I just want to pay tribute to Greg Lake from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, who died this week. I Believe in Father Christmas, 1975, was a great song that he had performed, and he died during the week, so he died of cancer.
Good song.
Yeah. Great song. And unfortunately he died of cancer, a disease which we already know. Well, there are several cures out there, so yeah, that's all we can say about that. And cheese! Anyone who likes their cheese, Easy Singles.
Cheese.
That kind of cheese.
The plastic cheese, yeah.
The plastic cheese. Well, seemingly, in America, the FDA, they have said that it cannot be classed as cheese. It can be classed as a cheese product, but not actually cheese, because the amount of cheese is less than 42%. So, yes, anyone who's enjoying a sandwich now with some Easy Singles on it. I don't know what's in the other, what is it, 58%, but it ain't cheese. And we can probably only guess it's some polymers and plastics and all sorts of weird stuff that will play havoc with your insides. Anyway, that's the best I could come up with. I'm sorry. How was your week?
Okay, not too bad. Just a couple of things before we get Thomas in. I was asked to pop down to a business owner during the week on Thursday because there was a rumour that the sheriff was going to be calling out to the business. And now I'm no legal expert, but I can argue a point and I can ask a few questions. So I was more than happy to pop down. And the outstanding bill, it was a council tax bill, or corporation charges. It's over 10 years old, And you'd think that the statute of limitations would run out, but apparently for the government and councils, there's no such statute. There's no limit to the statute of limitations when you're dealing with councils. But even speaking to somebody who from inside who works in the council, they couldn't believe that they were still chasing this bill after over a 10-year period. But the good news is that the sheriff didn't turn up, and hopefully the paperwork has now been sent in and challenged. So hopefully that won't happen again. But, welcome to Ireland. It's a business that they has recently been set up, and they are struggling. With things are tight at the moment, and they're doing the best to try and get the business in, and they're looking to create employment. And this is what happens when the council get a sniff of money with new businesses. But, we were there, and the tea was going for a good few hours, but as we say, lucky enough, there was no sheriff turning up. Now, on another note, just something that happened. I went down to Aldi to do the normal shopping as I do on Friday, and I noticed a mother and her daughter parked up, and the daughter's car actually was broken down, and the bonnet was up, and the mother's car was parked beside it. And I noticed them, they had the jump leads out, and obviously the battery was dead. It needed jump start, and I was sitting in the car waiting on the shop to open.
Beeping at them, were you?
And just waiting, and I thought, oh, well, they have it in hand and everything's happy days. But then I seen the mother walking around with the instruction manual, and I thought, why is she reading an instruction manual if she's just going to jump start the car? So, and they were there for a few minutes, so I said, okay, I'm going to pop over and ask to see if they're okay. So I went over and I spoke to the lady and said, are you okay, is there a problem? And she said, oh, it's my car. I have one of these modern cars, and we can't find the battery terminals. So I had a look underneath the bonnet, and we could find the red one, couldn't find the black one. And basically I just said, well, I'll tell you what, to speed up time, move your car out of the way, I'll bring my car down, and we'll jump start your daughter's car. So she moved the car, I brought my car down, put the jump leads on, started the car, and happy days, they were happy, and then off they went. So I'm not saying this because I want a pat on the back, I'm saying this because the moral of the story is, if you have a modern car, please find out where your terminals are, just in case your battery is dead, or just in case you need to jumpstart somebody else's car. And if you can afford a set of jump leads, stick them in the boot of your car, because they're always handy. It's now winter, and that's the second car I did the jumpstart on this week. So modern cars, the engine bay seems to be covered with plastic, so trying to find where things are is near impossible. But if you know where they are, great. But if you don't, I suggest check them out, find out where they are, look at the manual so you know where to put the jump leads. So there you go, that's my bit of Alan's mechanical advice for the week.
Right, and can you just do me one quick favour? Can you say daughter and water?
Daughter and water.
There we go. That's for you, John.
Why?
John loves the way you say daughter and water.
Well, I say real sexy, daughter and water.
I drowned your daughter in the water.
No, I don't even know that. Right, okay. Right, let's bring Thomas in. We're going to have a lot to talk about, and a few things. We have things on our list that we're going to go through, Thomas. So we'll get him in. Thomas, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Not too bad.
And it's daughter and water.
Daughter and water. You get the words. The good friend of mine that I used to play music with, called Frank from Liverpool, and we used to have a good old crack with the Scouse accent, and he used to do the same with the Irish accent, so we used to take the pee out of each other, Good evening. How are you doing, Thomas?
I'm doing okay.
Good stuff.
There's lots going on.
You getting all ready for Christmas?
I don't really do Christmas. It's not the same here,
Well, it's hot, isn't it?
Christmas with your shorts on.
Yeah, it's just not right. You have to be cold and miserable, don't you?
Yeah, you have to have about 15 layers of clothes on and pretend to think it's fun playing in the snow when it's not really.
Well, you know what you have to do? You have to fly over here for Christmas and celebrate over here and be miserable like us. Oh, even better. We fly over to Florida.
Yeah, we'd be miserable like Thomas.
No, it's miserable coming back. That's why I moved here.
Yeah, I think
Christmas is not the same. America seems to put more. It's more of a Christmas feel, the Thanksgiving, which we just had.
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. Rather than the actual Christmas itself. You know, of course, back in the UK, it becomes a 2 or 3 week drink festival.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit more culture, though.
Well, you had your Thanksgiving on a Friday, so it's all got to do with sitting down and being appreciative of what you have, and then on the Friday you kill each other for Black Friday for trying to get the flat screen TV with the 15% discount, you know, or... Yeah.
Well, if Americans found out the real meaning of Thanksgiving Day, perhaps they wouldn't use that.
Probably, more than likely. Right, okay, we've got a few things on the list to chat about, but is there anything that, you know, we've mentioned a few things at the start of the show there. Is there anything that you want to kind of jump in and have a comment on?
Yeah, there's a couple of things.
Okay, shoot away.
Fake news. This is, of course... The agency people, CIA, FBI, came up with the term conspiracy theorists. That's where it came from, because people were working stuff out 40, 50 years ago, maybe even 60, and it may have even been to do with the ET narrative. So then it seeds the public, and it becomes a meme, what we would know as a meme. So this is what they're doing now, is they're labeling everything as fake news. So you're going to find it even more difficult to get to the real news. The real news, to me, is now more out in the open than it's ever been in history. This year, we just had a plethora of news. We can't keep up with it.
That's it.
You know, and people are going, nothing's happening. But there's people being exposed on the mainstream media that was 2 or 3 years ago, or even as far back as 12 months ago, would have been classed as conspiracy. You know, some people are picking up there and going, oh wow, but it's coming at us at such a volume that most people are not getting the time to absorb it and process it, and so they're missing parts of it. And this latest is the again a program for people to seed the people. So they're setting up the public that the news that will come out, and there will be a lot more coming out over the next 12 months, even more than this year, which is why you have to take time to take a step back and process what you've heard, what you've seen, and what you've read, and all this, and absorb it properly. Don't just skip over it. Too many skip over it and don't put 2 and 2 together. Critical thinking. And so they're setting up the sleepers, if you like, for the fake news. So when the mainstream media are currently being forced to put out more what was classed as conspiratorial news, they'll go fake. It's seeding the herd.
I did say to you before we started on the show there, there's a certain pastor on YouTube, and he's a bit of a character, all right. You know, every time he starts his YouTube, he has to say, you know, he has this saying, calm down. And not in a Scouse accent, by the way.
Calm down.
Actually, it'd be quite funny if he did. But it's everything with him is every second video is the asteroids are coming and there's a big crack in the earth and get my coffee and buy my book and there's an awful lot of that and seems to be a plethora of there's so much on YouTube. And people doing this. So you really have to be on your guard and analyse what you're hearing and what you're reading, because it's like they turned up the volume to 11. They turned up the fake news to 11. If anybody's a Spinal Tap fan, they turned it up to 11, and it's just all over the place.
Well, it's the way you've got to look at it, and the way the listeners have got to look at it. It's a win for us that they're having to do that because we've made that many strides forward. They can't cope with it. For so many decades, you can say hundreds of years, you can say thousands of years, you can actually say hundreds of thousands of years, This control system has just rolled over us. It's not rolling over us no more. And so they've always pushed agendas forward, and there's been no kickback. So they just continue to push forward. What they're doing now is they're on the defensive. They're having to come up with fake news and memes to control the onslaught of the public. So look at it in a positive light, because the fact that they're being defensive means they're not on the attack against us. It also means we're pushing them back. It also means we're actually winning. Yeah.
And plus the fact they're coming out and saying about all this fake news and they're trying to program people. I really do think people are, because of maybe necessity and desperation and things happening in their own life, that is one of the things that we are told by Bob Chapman. He said when people start getting desperate, that's when people will start waking up to what's going on, because they'll have to. And this is what's happening now. And it's a sorry case of affairs, really, that people have to get to that level to wake up. But maybe that's just the way things have to be.
Well, it is. You know, I got involved in it and I was doing rather well. So, but, you know, everyone comes into it for different reasons. And, but this is kind of what we've been saying on my show and formerly when I was on Cosmic Voice, is don't wait for something to happen to you to suddenly feel like you have to be involved. You know, if we all look after each other, we wouldn't have to wait. You know, oh, such and such's house is being foreclosed and let's just ignore it. No, because one day they'll come for you.
Yeah.
No matter what position you're in, you could be earning 100,000 a year. It can all be taken away just like that. And this is how they do things. So now people are coming at it from a lower vibration because they've been trampled over and they've been hurt, they've been abused, they've had the home stolen off them and all the rest of it. It's not a good platform to start off with.
No.
We had more people who were actually doing reasonably well in society actually getting involved, because eventually they'll come for you. And so because we're technically the few, it's easier to put up that divide and conquer barrier of them conspiracy theorists. Well, this is kind of what I said in the show the other week. We're operating in two worlds. They're both there simultaneously. But we're looking at the people who are not awake and thinking they're not in reality. And they're thinking the same as us. And it's two worlds operating side by side, and people are now starting to see it that way.
Yeah.
In essence, that is what's going on.
Well,
this is part of the holographic universe and all that stuff, projection.
Yeah. I kind of put it down to like it's we're on a seesaw, and we're actually over the pinnacle, the peak of the seesaw, and now, you know, and if the cabal are on the defence regarding what we're doing, with everybody waking up on the alternative media and everything else, then that means they're not on the offence, which is brilliant. So we're kind of pushing them back. Now, one of the articles I sent you over during the week, which is, you know, it was terrible to see, and this goes all around the world. It's not just in Liverpool, but it was the article I sent over. The Liverpool Mum of Four went without food for a week, so her kids had enough to eat, and that was just a heartbreaking storyline in a magazine or newspaper in Liverpool, and it's I mean, to go without food for a week, I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, we heard over here, one of the chaps that we've had on the show before, Ken Smallon, he's with the IDP party, and he spent the night. Remember when we did work for the homeless charity, and I went in on the Friday night and we did interviews with the volunteers there and seeing what they did and everything else. Well, Ken went in last Friday, and he got talking to a couple of homeless people as well. And he also put an article up there saying a local TD from his area got funding for an educational centre. And, and I keep saying to people, look, what the TDs want to do is they want to leave a legacy. They want to leave something that when they leave office, they'll go, oh yeah, I did that, and I set up that, and I did that. Homeless people and evictions is not a tangible object. Where a structure like a hospital wing or, I wouldn't mind if it was a hospital wing, an education centre. Yeah. And so so when you leave office, this is what they're saying. So this is why, and plus they're controlled by the party whip system over here in Ireland. And it's just disgraceful that the TDs, and there's some TDs refusing to acknowledge that there's a problem with homeless and evictions. I mean, what kind of blindfolds do they wear? It's just...
Well, this goes back to the two worlds. It's not reality, is it?
No.
They're not seeing reality. But the awake people think these people are nuts. It's right there in front of them. But what if they can't see? No matter what you tell them, what if they can't see? And this is why I came up with the term that we're operating in two worlds simultaneously. They can't see. They have no compassion. The Liverpool girl is one thing, but this has been going on for 20, 30 years in the UK, and recently, more recent in America, with the elderly. The abuse of the elderly in the UK is epidemic, in my opinion. I've worked for social services. I've watched it, where the pensioners have a policy, heat or eat.
Yeah.
Really? Britain's supposed to be the 5th, 6th, 7th richest country, and you've got the elderly, and of course the elderly in our country fought in the war. Allegedly for the country, but we all know that's not real.
Yeah.
And this is the way we treat it.
Yeah, no, it's just ridiculous. Steve, I was going to ask you, in your background, when you used to work in the hospitals and stuff like that, did you ever come across or hear anything about mistreatment of patients or anything like
that? Yes. Have to choose my words carefully.
Don't
call
it as it is. Just call it as it is.
I actually seen it hands-on, first-hand experience. I did see somebody overstepping the mark, and this would have been someone who would have been superior to me in the chain, or the food chain, if you like, back when I worked there. And it was a case of I seen something happening, but it was already known to me that if I had have reported this, went higher up the food chain and reported this, that I probably would have put my job on the line at that time, which I couldn't afford to do. I was young and naive, and it wasn't abuse in, like, it wasn't on a scale of 1 to 10. It was probably like maybe a 1, okay. But I felt that I couldn't really say anything because I wouldn't have been believed. And I think a lot of people, like the likes of social services and the likes of the HSE over here, it's a tiered system. And even over here in the HSE, there's a 15 kind of a point plan, or pay scale, if you like. So you're either on the rung on the ladder number 1 or number 15. If you get to number 15, you're a top earner. You're way up there. But the people down the bottom of the ladder, if they report things that they see or hear or suspect to the top scale, well, they lose their jobs, or they're run out of the wherever they may work, and they will find it very difficult to get a job elsewhere. So I think a lot of people who do actually witness things, they will say it to other people outside of where they work, or they'll hint at it, And it's not until you'll have someone like a big TV station who will get involved and do an expose and send in the hidden cameras and all the sort of, it's only when that happens that it gets exposed. But I certainly believe, Thomas, that it is ongoing, and despite all the shows and all the documentaries that we've seen exposing it, and then you hear politicians on and directors of nursing saying, well, okay, yes, that was going on, but we've battened down the hatches now. Everything is much more tighter. You have to have, whereby you could just walk in off the street, as I did. I walked in. I got a job looking after care of the elderly. There was no formal process. I went for an interview, and if you looked honest enough, you got the job. Now you have to have all these VTech or VTech or whatever it is, levels, all these courses done. But that proves nothing. It doesn't prove that you still won't go on to abuse people. It's a piece of paper, Thomas. Yeah, that's all it is.
It doesn't prove compassion.
No, it doesn't. No.
Or empathy. It doesn't tell you that.
Not one bit, no.
And that's the trouble with the whole system. It's a very left-brain system. And I'm kind of, my bugbear at the moment is the education system because my son's going to be doing his exams this year. Your daughter, Samantha, did them last year.
Yeah. And
he's a little bit stressed over it, exams. And I keep saying to him, look, just do your best. That's all. I'm not one of these pushy parents because I know it's garbage in, garbage out. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that you have to spend 3 years learning crap and then on one day you have to churn all this stuff out. I mean,
it's a memory test. That's all it is.
That's exactly what it is.
The problem you just mentioned is fear. We all have fear of speaking of certain things. It's when you overcome that you start breaking the system down.
Mm.
And I appreciate it's about keeping your job and all this stuff. But sometimes, and we're in these times, you have to sacrifice or you have to change because we can't carry on playing their system.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the ladder system. When you get to ladder 15, that means you're corrupt or you've played the game. You've played the puppet game. And we've all done it. And the pieces of paper, the classic piece of paper that is the most biggest pile of bullshittery ever is the nurses and doctors. 7 years training and not a single minute spent on cures.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what use is that piece of paper?
Yeah.
I got told at school, you'll get no certificates or, O-levels. I said, I don't want any. I don't need pieces of paper to tell me whether I'm intelligent or not.
Yeah.
It's all part of the system.
Exactly. And of course, if you, I like the picture where you have a line of animals, like you have a monkey and an elephant and a fish and a crow. And one of the questions is, right, now you have to climb a tree. Now, you can't judge a fish by the fact that he can't climb a tree.
Yeah.
So, and this is the way our education system is. And that's why people feel the way they do, or the kids feel a bit down because they're not doing, the expectations. Now, I spoke to the teachers. There was a parents-teachers meeting there a few weeks ago. And I said, I think I said this on the show before, they were talking about algebra, and my son was learning algebra. And I said, do you not have something practical that my son can apply the algebra to so we can understand and see it in a kind of functional system? And he goes, no, we have our curriculum that we have to do and we have to push that through and that's our target and, it has to be done for the year. And that's what it is. They don't even have time to properly teach the kids because they're under pressure to teach all this crap to our kids. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm sure, Steve, you've got James as well in school and I'm sure you're seeing it and thinking the same thing.
Well, when you said the education, indoctrination, that's all it is to begin with. But a lot of the crap that they learn and this is something that you said a long time ago too. It's just to make them intelligent enough to operate the machines that, whatever they're going to do in later life, it'll just give them enough smarts to do that. But it won't give them, but not enough to ask questions and find out.
Well, anyone like myself who critical thinks, you don't go through the education system easy. Because they don't like you asking questions. And then if you go out into the corporate world, they don't like you asking questions. I was like a maverick in social services. And the manager saying, I know you're right, but you can't say those things. I said, well, if you know I'm right, then you're the manager. You're the one who should be saying it.
Yeah.
It's not just a title. You have to act like one.
Mm.
So instead of one of your staff doing it, like I did today, I took on the chief executive of Liverpool because he was spouting crap. So I said, that's something you have to do. Managers have responsibilities to their staff. You're not looking after the staff, you're not looking after the elderly, and you're not looking after children's services.
Mm.
Just sitting there and sucking up and saying, oh yeah, well, we should have cuts because we haven't got enough budget.
Mm.
Well, we've got plenty of budgets for war, or to give foreign aid to Israel and all the other countries. But where's the budget for the people?
I know.
And people have forgotten.
Mm.
Governments and banks don't have money. They only have yours. Remember that.
Mm. Well, I know what you mean by the management side, because I can definitely go. I can say in the 20 odd years I spent in the corporate world, I can count the man managers on one hand. And when I say man managers, I mean people who are good at managing staff. Again, the system is designed that they'll find somebody out, oh, you're good at your job, we're going to make you a supervisor. Now, being good at your job does not make them good at managing people. And I've come across people who are, from a business point of view, they're great. But when it comes to managing staff, they don't have a clue. So just because
they're
they
not trained in staff.
Exactly, and that's it. They're not
staff just are there to produce, like robots. Just produce.
Yeah.
Don't give them anything.
And the people who are listening to the show who have a job and have a manager, ask yourself this: is your manager a people person? Are they good at managing people, or do they just know the business and they're not really good at managing people? And that's the mistake. The system that we're in is all left brain. It's not about the right brain side of things, and that's what we have to switch. We have to change over. But I'm just something we want to get into the 2016 year, Thomas, because we can go down the road with management and talk about that all night. 2016, the year of they said it was Armageddon, which is the revealing. And by God, when you were on the show a few months ago, you did say to us, hold on to your britches, because there's going to be loads of stuff on every day. There's just going to be coming out and escalating. And well, you weren't wrong with that. You were bang on with that, because trying to keep up with the information is phenomenal. So what's your take on, if you go back to the year from January to now, and what's your take on that? What do you think? I mean, do your predictions from at the start of the year, do you feel that you're pretty much on the ball there?
Well, I made the statement on December the 30th. Since I was a kid, I used to get maybe one word, maybe a sentence on New Year's Eve as the clock struck 12. And it gave me a guide for the following year. And I got it early last year. I've got it early again, even earlier this year, for next year. And on December the 30th show, I made two statements. 2016 will be the year of the apocalypse, which means the real meaning is reveal the hidden. And I think people have seen the hidden revealed. It's starting to become a very open wound, and that wound is the cabal. And the other statement I made, this year will be confusing and very convoluted. I think we've all seen that. Next year is the unraveling, is what I've got. Everything will be unravelled and wound back. Not back into the loops, not back into the same system, but a new system and a new way. It's going to take time. People often forget this control system as I know it, has gone on hundreds of thousands of years. People think it goes back to the Illuminati in the 16th, 17th, 1800s. It's way before that. Even in recorded history of what we've been given as recorded history. And in essence, we have unravelled it in under a decade. The big plans, of which there have been many this year, have all failed. The new financial system, which I kept saying on the people on the show, would fail, and it did. The RV, the legendary internet RV,
and the Nasara,
which is I've termed regurgitated vomit, because that's what it is. For those that don't know or don't follow our show, the RV as posted on the internet is designed to fund the cabal again, because they're struggling funds-wise badly, and kickstart their programs, which would then eliminate 90% of humanity. That won't take place. It's been prevented numerous times this year. The Asian faction threatening America to accept the RV and other things as again been kicked back. The false flags, they were after major false flags this year. All of them have been stopped. And so bit by bit, people are now outside of the alternative media are starting to wake up and see. And it's increasing. People from all backgrounds. So to me, whilst things appear to be going slowly, to take down that system in under a decade is nothing short of a miracle. And yes, people will go, well, it's gone on for 4 years and 5 years. But their system has gone on for thousands of years. And they've altered everything in society. You can't change that overnight. You know, I made the example previous about oil. You know, you could say, well, we'll end oil tomorrow. But then suddenly you've lost hundreds of thousands of jobs. Yeah, something has to be in its place. Yes, we know there's energy machines, cleaner energy, but it's not ready to roll. It could be. And so there has to be a phasing in and a phasing out. So you don't change everything. You could talk about the healing machines. You know, you've got to build them, you manufacture them, and you got to have plants and delivery and all this stuff. And then what happens to all the nurses? Again, it's you have to phase in training for the new stuff and new drugs that actually fix you, not exacerbate the condition. And so education, how do you change education? Because you know, they talk about false news. I'll talk about false education and false history and false politics. You know, I'll use America as an example, because Britain rolled it out in the middle 70s, the dumbing down. America started in the 30s. So you've got teachers who have taught children who have become teachers, who have taught children who have become teachers, teaching this generation of children who haven't got a clue. The teachers don't know. So who's going to teach the next generation of children the real history and a proper education program? Well, the answer is nobody, because there isn't sufficient people to do that.
Well, we're the last generation, really, to remember. So our kids won't remember. So it's up to us to keep that knowledge.
Well, the only thing I can think of is we wheel out like an open-ended internet with proper Wi-Fi frequencies, which we do have, that actually doesn't cause damage. And that's something to look forward to, possibly as early as next year, where the Wi-Fi signal is changed, so it's not damaging to people. And you would have to have homeschooling. done through maybe a central system. So the class would be your home for 1 or 2 years until you then have time to train the teachers into the new education program. That's the only way it can be done. So when people are saying, what I'm trying to get at, when people are saying things are not moving quickly enough, you have to understand the logistics of it all. Yes, we want everything done today or tomorrow. But if the cabal are announced they're stepping down tomorrow, does that change your day tomorrow or the next day or the day after? The reality is, what would you do with that information apart from go and have a few beers and celebrate? But does it change the day after? No, it doesn't.
No.
Because you have to put things in place to then go forward with the changes. There's lots of things in place that I am aware of. Some I've put out, and a lot I haven't put out. But I expect more of that to be released once we get through this year. It's important we get through this year in one piece.
What's the situation with the UPU and this wave that's supposed to be coming in?
Well, two separate things. The wave comes from the Galactic Centre, and it's been coming in since 2002. It's an upgrade of the frequencies. The fact that certain matrix systems, as I understand it, and certain AI systems have been rendered useless, and there's a return to a source-based system, not a fake AI, again, as I get it, allows those better frequencies to be absorbed by not only us, but the planetary being and the animals and the plants and the fish and the birds. So it's all living things.
So can you explain about you said it's harder, it has more an effect on the female than the male. Do you want to, just in case people are listening to the show and you can explain kind of the issues that some women might be experiencing with this energy change that's taken place?
Yeah, it's based on the sheer volume of people that have come to me and told me certain things, and that their female partners are like losing it. But then there's a number of theories. It could be they have more access to memory than we do as men. Maybe some of the past life traumas are not as comfortable for them as men can absorb it. There's elements of that. The other reality is women are more in tune with nature than men are. And so it could be a combination of any of those combinations or all three. And so the fact that the female planetary being is getting upgraded and feeling the changes, it could be the female side of it is more in tune with that than males are.
Now, you mentioned a while ago that the energy was up at about 90%, I think. Has that changed? Have we hit the pinnacle of the energy now, or is that still escalating?
The natural planet and not the holographic overlay, as I understand it, is 93%. This wave will add more changes. A lot of people are now reporting the buzzing in the head. There's like a ringing in ears.
Yeah, I get that.
Some of that is to do with the frequency, the change in the frequencies. Some of it to others who are in tune with other abilities, which we all have, but we just some are being able to tune into. They're like downloads for you, and it goes into the subconscious. It might be bits of puzzles, it might be something that you need, or it might be a change of direction that you need. There can be a range of reasons as to why. It may be a warning. Avoid this person, avoid that person, avoid this situation. It all goes into the subconscious. But listen, listen to your heart, not your head.
Listen to it's your intuition, your gut feeling.
No, not the gut either.
Okay.
The gut is the implant center.
Right. Okay.
This is why they use that word. Stay in the gut.
Yeah.
Stay in the mind.
Well, maybe I should have rephrased that and said your intuitive, what you're picking up, your intuition. Yeah. Use that. Yeah. And we over here we say, oh, it's your gut feeling, not actually relating to the gut.
This is part of the word magic they've used.
Yeah.
Stay in the gut.
Yeah.
No, or stay in the mind. Or they tell you that person is losing their mind. Well, I would say that's actually a good thing. Because the mind is the problem. That's the program part. Well, it's the heart. Depends
what they're doing at the time. If they're born in your car, I'd ask a few questions about that. All right.
No, but if you go to the center, not the mind, and not the gut, go to that's what they're trying to get you to do. Stay away from the heart center.
Yeah. Well, we always say, and we time and time again, we say all the time on the show, doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is always love. It's that frequency, and we all have to understand that we need to get there. We need to find it. If we're not in that, heading towards that frequency, that's where we need to go.
From what I gathered, there's as many neuron cells going into the heart as there is in the head, in the brain. So, which is the real brain? Again, this is it's getting into a different type of science, but we all know, if you're talking about fake news, the science we've been taught is pure rubbish.
Yeah. Well, Steve, Steve has a few questions there for you. Do you have, Steve, a few questions there?
I do indeed. Just out of curiosity, Thomas, when we're talking about the wave coming in and it affecting people differently and more so women, this was actually said to me quite recently from a woman, and she was just in the course of conversation. She told me that she was just going about her daily business, nothing untoward, nothing very exciting, but this feeling of she couldn't even describe the feeling, but she said she just had this urge to burst into tears. She just felt like crying for no apparent reason. And yes. Would that be something to do with this wave?
Yes, it is.
Can you?
It's part of the past memory of how we used to be.
Yeah.
Some people, everyone's different. Everyone's at different learning curves. Some people are ultra sensitive, and some people aren't. There's no right and no wrong. There's no better or worse. It is what it is on an individual soul level. So when you get that frequency wave, it triggers memory, the soul memory, and there's people talk about states of bliss, and it's very fleeting. That state of bliss is what we used to have 24 hours a day. That's the way we used to be.
Okay, so this is a good thing.
Absolutely. And crying is a way of releasing pent-up energy. It can be negative energy. People get upset and they hold it in. Particularly, this is the problem with the male. Females can always cry. We have been conditioned not to do that. And crying can release that energy, and this is why we've been talking about, I've been talking about on the shows, about people dealing with the shadow sides. Release the negative energy, release the trauma, whether you're abused as a child or something went wrong or whatever, or you did bad things, let it go. Because then you're creating room within yourself for these energies to come in. If your body's full of negative and trauma, you're not going to have much of the new frequency to absorb. Let it all go.
Just something that happened myself and my son. I mentioned it on the show a couple of weeks ago, that we were in shopping again, probably a couple of months ago, and all of a sudden we at the till, just waiting to be served, not thinking of anything much, and all of a sudden this kind of real depressive energy came over us. And I said to my son, I feel like, and the best way to describe it, and I know it sounds funny, but in Star Wars, where the planet was blown up, and Obi-Wan says, I feel something has happened, right?
Yeah.
And that was the only way to describe it. And my son at the same time said the same thing. I feel this, like, energy, and it just came on us for a few seconds, and then went again. And
yeah,
it was
because there's a person around you that is dark energy.
Okay.
We all have this where we walk into a room and you see one person and go, ooh, I don't like that. We all do it.
Normally over here in Ireland, we say that person gives us a bad vibe, which is a vibration, the energy. Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. And so that's your subconscious level telling you, beware of that person. That's why it says when you get the ringing in the ears, or there's some bits download. Listen. You may not get words. You may get a picture in your head. Listen. Be quiet and listen. Absorb it, because then it will help you. It may not help you in that minute or that day, but maybe in that week or that month. Well, and we have to be more in tune. It's going to be so important over the next 12 months to be in tune with yourself, not outside of yourself.
Well, definitely the ringing, definitely. I don't know about you, Steve, but I definitely get the ringing. I could be just to kind of doing what you're getting on, doing what you're doing, and all of a sudden, bang, the ringing starts happening.
I just answer.
Yeah, well, I go away from people and go and sit in a quiet room and absorb it. Then suddenly I may get words, or I may get sentences, or I'll see a picture. And that's, but you've got to train yourself to do that. And people think, oh, intuition, that's a bit nutty. No, it's not. That's your higher self telling you a better path. It's not going to sell you short.
No, I totally agree. From a spiritual point of view, I've been involved in the spiritual side of things, and I have to say to people, trust your intuition, because it won't tell you. If it's telling you to do something wrong, it's not your intuition. It's that simple, because it won't tell you to do things wrong. It'll just always be on the right path.
It might even tell you things that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But over time you will see. It's always right.
I think I would just say to people, start leading with your heart, not your head.
Exactly.
Steve, you got more questions there for Thomas?
Yeah, we do indeed. The cabal, Thomas. When we speak of the cabal, and you said earlier that they're kind of struggling for funds, if you had to put a figure on the cabal, like if someone wanted to know, is the cabal a group of 4 or 5 people? Is it 400 or 500 people? How big is the cabal?
I would probably say, I think we were given a kind of hint is with the Georgia Guidestones, 500,000.
500,000. Okay, so it's not, because sometimes I wonder.
500
million.
Sorry, $500 million.
Right, so that's...
but a lot of them are just puppets. The central control system, it's all about the network. I've said this on previous shows. I was shown the central system, and it would literally blow people's minds away. It's so complex. It's so encoded. It's nothing like you will see on the internet. It's not a pyramid structure. Far from it. That's the easy one.
Right. So when they say 500 million, because we were led to believe that was kind of the amount of people they wanted on the earth to depopulate to 500 million.
It's them and the puppets, the ones who work for them.
So it's basically get rid of everyone else. Just
once they get to a system whereby they think they can cheat death and cheat souls, with the transhumanism, then they don't need people. One of the things they're planning for next year is to roll the robots out, and so we've got no jobs. I would suggest, like most other things they've done, it'll fail.
Yeah,
Their time is done. They know that.
Yeah,
but it's up to the people to enforce it.
You can actually see, Thomas. You can actually see. Even people who kind of listen to you going, they're going to roll out the robots and people's jobs will be gone. Some people may listen to that and they go, that's a load of rubbish. But that's already happening today. And
it's already happened. You're just not putting two and two together. This is what I mentioned earlier. People have been critical, saying, well, I've seen Hillary. And, we put out the statement that Hillary was dying in June, which then the mainstream media were forced into covering. And so they could spin it their own way. I then got the call that went via a number of the agencies that she died on September the 4th, and people are going, but I'm seeing her in a conference, but that's not the same person. It's clearly not. And it becomes kind of difficult. I kind of lost my thread now what you started with, but it becomes kind of difficult when people don't look at it in the right way.
No. Well, we don't even need a thread, Thomas. I think it's just kind of it's growing organically.
The thing with Hillary is, or Hitlery as I call her, is you don't get pneumonia, lose 30 pounds, and knock 20 years off your life in one day.
Well, I can safely say, Thomas, I've actually had pneumonia. And you're spot on. I didn't lose 30 pounds, and I didn't look any younger.
And what you don't do is walk around New York with no bodyguards the following day.
Yeah, seriously,
these are the things people should be looking at and then questioning. I waited. I knew she died on September the 4th. I got the call at quarter to 11 Sunday night. And they told me she'd flatlined an hour and 3/4 previously. I waited for more confidence, because it is a big thing to put out, and it's kind of put my neck on the line. You can get many things right being a radio show host, as you know. But if you get one thing wrong, suddenly everything's wrong, But at the end, I waited 11 days until I got a further confirms. But at the end of the day, they then wheeled out the clone. They also had the double, and the clone started failing. And now the double has got cancer. So they realised they couldn't go 4 years pulling that stunt off. You had an election, and yet Hillary went 275 days without a news conference in an election year. Mm. And so people need to look at that and go, well, why wouldn't they promote themselves? Of course, I did say that Hillary would win, and I went on the radio show. I knew Trump was going to win on the Monday night, following certain removals of machines. I got another confirmed Tuesday morning. I was actually talking to Drake as the results were coming in, and says, by the way, Trump's won. He went, oh, not yet. I said, no, he has. But I'd made the call. Hillary was destined to win. As we've seen by some of the videos, they were celebrating.
Yeah.
Trump himself was literally shitting his pants Tuesday night and Wednesday. People will have seen the conference, and he looked very nervous. He's nervous for a reason, because it's not what he expected or was in for. And which way he goes now is there's a major tug-of-war between the good side's pushing Trump, you're not signing this, you're not doing this, and you're not doing that, and the other side saying, you better do this, otherwise this bullet's going through your head. So I wouldn't like to be in his position at the moment.
No.
To be quite honest, and you just have to wait and see whether he survives through to January the 20th and beyond.
Okay.
Because it's debatable at this point.
That's what we're going to have to keep an eye out for. January, till the inauguration takes place, then, we can't guarantee anything. Steve, you got more questions there?
I do. Just kind of changing things ever so slightly. We heard recently, Thomas, about Brexit, and that the whole kind of thing behind Brexit was that the Queen is the head of the army, the armed forces in the UK. And if they remained part of EU, then the EU army, whoever's at the top of that, would also be above the army in the UK, and that wasn't about to happen. So that's why they had this whole thing, and they're getting now the EU. I'm just wondering, what's your take on that? And when we reach March next year, will Article 50 be triggered, and will the UK actually leave the EU, in your opinion?
Well, my opinion, I called it before the election took place, or the voting took place, is it's not a British exit, it's a Baron Rothschild's exit. Baron Rothschild owned Britain, the financial aspect, City of London, all that stuff. They're pulling out of the EU and moving the financial structure over to the East, as per the agreement in 1913 that the West would control the financial system via the Federal Reserve and the City of London. The Federal Reserve is just a subsidiary of the City of London. And so in December of 2013, that charter ended, and so everything should have gone over to the East, and they were supposed to control the financial system for the next 100 years. Now, obviously, some of the things changed in that 100 years, and people decided we don't want no central banks. We don't want this, and we don't want this control system. But also the factions in the West decided we're not being under the control of the Asians. And so there's elements of them fighting it as well, particularly the Nazi faction. And so that was kind of the real reason, and this is why, people say, well, how can you prove that? Well, look at all the jobs that have been outsourced to the East over the last 10, 15 years. They were setting everything up to be westernised over there, westernised in inverted commas, and then they're going to turn EU and America into third world countries, which is what's taken place right in front of you. They're losing jobs. The conditions of contractor work are eroding. The unions are being eroded, or have been. The wages are lowering. And so it's happening right in front of your eyes, what took place. Why all of a sudden is 4 of the top 5 richest people in the world from India? Because Britain and America funded it. So then what happens then is, the factions funded it. So the whole system goes over to the East. Of course, the Rothschilds are part of that. They've got their finger in every sort of pie. And the day we don't have a Rothschild on this planet will be the biggest day of celebration in my mind. They're a blight on this planet and a blight on humanity. So that's, I can't remember how far back the vote was. Was it May or June or July? Britain hasn't gone out of it, has it?
Not yet.
There's always some delay. It's funny how they, when you want to increase something, i.e. taxes, that it happens the next week, or they're putting petrol up. It happens that, we're putting this up because of this. And there it goes. Or there's an incident in Middle East, so here's $3 billion to go and fight over there. But then suddenly when it's something for the people, or that doesn't suit their agenda, it changes, doesn't it? You know?
Oh, it's the same. Look, it's the same over here in Ireland. The TDs over here, the politicians had a pay rise of 5k, and that flew through the Dáil. And when they were trying to saying, "Oh, we'll give the pensioners an extra €5," there was a bit of a hesitation there, and then, "Oh, it won't be rolled out till next year," and all this kind of stuff. It's hypocritical, and I keep saying to people over and over again, the TDs don't care about you. The politicians, they never will, and they never have cared about you. And that's why it has to be people power. People have to get up, and there's not going to be any saviour coming down. We're going to have to do it. We're going to be the ones to have to turn things around and just make these people redundant.
Does TD stand for total dickheads?
Yeah, you could use it for that, yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with the term TD. I'm assuming that's an Irish thing.
It's an Irish thing, yeah. It's, all the politicians are TD. Do you know what TD actually stands for?
Total dickhead.
Yeah, we'll have to remember that. That's a good one. We'll have to remember. I don't know, it's something... maybe one of our Irish people on the chat room will actually pop it up there.
Oh, I know exactly what it stands for.
What does it stand for?
I'll just double check it here, but it's in Irish it's Choc de Dála.
Okay.
That's what it means. But what the English translation is, I don't know. It could be total dickhead. We're gonna have to put that on the list. Now tell us, Thomas, the good news stuff is that you've had some movement on the foundation. Do you want to tell people about the foundation and what your plans are there?
We're still waiting for the main aspect of it, which is the funding. The funding's there. But since I was on the last show, we've been given the approval by the IRS. So we've now got the designation letter to be a fully non-profit organisation. The funding has landed, but has been unable at this point to be transferred safely.
I was going to say that because the banking system has is still being controlled by the cabal at the moment.
Not all, no. But the people have to understand there's the public banking system and there's the private one, which some may be aware of, many won't. It's the main banking system. People talk about SWIFT and the transfer. I can't remember the other version now. The SWIFT transfer system has
the BIC, isn't it? BIC transfer.
Something like that. Or was it SIPS? Was the new one? The Russians and something. Either way, it's a massive AI machine, and if certain companies or peoples are blacklisted, those funds get swiped. And a lot of what's been done this year is shutting down those swipes where they can't steal from certain accounts. Now, the Rothschilds have been stealing from the public accounts. It's just they announced that last month. They basically emptied the whole vault of the American government, not just America either. And it's been called the largest heist in history. Now, obviously that's not a nice thing, and it's sad that it's taking place. But the way I look at things is, to me, that's another sign of their desperation.
Yeah.
As we go through this show tonight, there's been 3 or 4 already signs of their desperation, that they've got to go to that levels to stay in the game. Eventually, there is no game. I used this analogy 2 years ago. In essence, it's checkmate. In chess, when it's checkmate, you can still make moves, but ultimately, still checkmate. They're still making the moves because people who play chess, and once they realise it's checkmate, that's it.
Yeah, it's game over.
Show respect, and it's game over. Don't spin it out.
Yeah.
But these people have no respect and no compassion, nothing. And so they think they can always find a cheat to circumvent what's going on. Their latest thing, which is hugely ironic, is they're wheeling out a new meme, the Saviour Program. Now, we've heard lots of things about this recently, and this saviour and that saviour. The reality is, the saviours are never ever going to be the ETs, ever. No advanced civilization is going to come in and fix a mess largely created by those people themselves. Ever. We've created this mess through our ignorance, and yes, there is circumstances surrounding that with the programming and the mind control, and etc., etc., etc. But there's things that are so obvious to see that we choose to ignore.
Okay, but let me just question that just there now. Yeah. If the cabal have been in contact with, say, the negative ETs, and the negative ETs have given the technology over, we've heard about Eisenhower and, the deal where they have software for hardware or vice versa. And the cabal are using the negative ET's technology. Again, it goes back to my original question, which I said a couple of shows ago. I think I spoke to you about it, Thomas. I said, we have bow and arrows against our machine guns. We're not asking for the ETs to come in and save us, but we would like the actual the game to be rigged or to be set where we can actually be on a level keel with the cabal, so we can at least have a fair fight.
In essence, it is. We've just forgotten. This is the problem. We've forgotten who we are. We're creator beings. Create. This is, yes, I understand on the 3D level that they've got all these weaponry and tech, but so do we. A lot of the tech is human based, not ET based. So the problem is the humans are using it in league with them. Well, they either have a choice. They either come and support humanity, your own people, not slimy lizards and bug-eyed ants. Come and support your own people. And then it gets into the free will. So you've got the awakened community who want this change and that change, and then you've got a majority of people who are still in the programs. 30% of them, as I get it, will never change. They're programmed not to get it.
Yeah.
So you have 10-12% who have woken up, and then you have 30% at the other end who are just there like a hologram to just annoy you and distract. And it's up to the individual to overcome those hurdles. You mentioned the mountain analogy. I've used that mountain analogy a number of times. But the idea of climbing the mountain is an individual one, not to carry everyone on your back.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where I've had to take a look at things and trying to get people not to just follow me or follow somebody else. Follow themselves. It's on a soul level. It's a personal journey. Yes, it's nice to be in the collective, but it's still a soul level choice. And if that soul chooses in this lifetime to be dark, is that wrong or is that worse? When in the previous 9 lifetimes they could have been the light.
Yeah. And
it's all about an experience. So in essence, from an overview point of view, and most people don't like hearing this, but in essence, from an overview soul point of view, the cabal are actually helping us, because They're forcing us into standing up and being who we are. Not just cower and fear. Stand up and stand in your own sovereignty. And so this saviour program that the cabal of your new meme, this person thinks they're the saviour. No, each person is the saviour. Not the, as in capital letters, saviour. We're all the saviour. We have to save ourselves. Otherwise, if the ETs interject on a 3D level, where they come down and start shooting out the cabal craft and all that stuff, that then means we're still the children of humanity. We haven't evolved enough or stepped up enough to be able to defend ourselves and become adults. And so you're then going into another parent situation. Some of your listeners will be familiar with that term. The parents are the previous version of humanity who've overlooked this planet. They're negative, or perceived as negative, because they've done things that most people perceive as being wrong. But if this life is a test, then there's nothing really right and there's nothing really wrong on an overview point of view. Yes, there's some heinous things going on, and don't for 1 second think I'm ignoring that, because I'm not. But from the overview point of view, it's all an experience. It's how you react to it and how you deal with it. And are you just going to sit back and cower and fear and play the good little slave? Or are you going to stand up in your own sovereignty and going, this is not right. These people having their homes taken. I might be comfortable in my lifestyle, but that doesn't mean to say I should ignore what other people are suffering. And this is where we've gone wrong in humanity. We spend too much time worrying about the selfless and selfish, different things.
Yeah.
And we only start campaigning for things when we've suffered. That's not the way to be. It wasn't the way we were, before my time. The communities where the older people in Ireland will remember, you didn't have to lock your front door because nobody had anything. That you could say, well, I'm going to go and steal their phone, or I'm going to go and steal their car, or once you get back to that, where we're not competing, better phones, better cars, better homes, all that rubbish, that's designed to put you into the debt system.
Well, when the materialism, or when people are able to buy or get the products they want, if they're in that kind of mindset, like buying a loaf of bread. If they want to buy a Ferrari F40 and you go down the road and there's a showroom there and you can buy it for 20 quid, all that would just stop. In a matter of probably a few weeks, that will stop, because people will get fed up with it. It's like when people say, if we got paid a standard wage every month from the government, then, just for survival, and people say, loads of people wouldn't work. And I disagree with that. I think there will be people who won't do anything, but I think a lot of people will say, well, I can now do what I want to do. And that's the whole idea, to be able to do what you want to do and have other people benefit. So if you like doing woodwork, or like doing metalwork, or like doing music, or whatever it is, and people enjoy what you're doing, well then that's the whole idea, being able to do the things that you want to do, rather than having to do a job that you don't really want to work at, or you don't want to do, but you're doing it because it keeps the roof over your head. I don't know.
It all comes down to what you class as value.
Yeah.
And most of the things in our life that we put the highest priority on are not really of value.
Yeah. I think people have to get to a stage in their life.
The value's in the people.
Yeah. I think people have to get to a stage in their life when they look at the materialistic things they have in their life, and if they were asked are you ready to move on and leave all this behind? If your answer is yes, then I think you've passed the need for the material objects in your life.
You have to be ready to walk away.
Yeah, you
at
have
a
to
moment's notice, just walk away from it.
Yeah, well, I would say that to people. Can you walk away? If somebody turned around and said, right, we're going to give you a new life, but you have to walk away from all your material possessions and stuff, can you do it?
Yeah, it's difficult. Again, you need a phase in and a phase out, because people. There's some people in the community who would like to live off the grid.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not one of them. I don't like caravans or tents.
Okay.
But then everyone's different. Of course, that largely depends on where you come from. I was brought up in a city, and so we have city items. Of course, if you're brought up in rural areas where many don't have internet or TV because there's no cables, they live different lifestyles. That doesn't mean to say I wouldn't adapt to it, but it wouldn't be an easy transition for the likes of me or anyone else who've been brought up in the city.
Yeah, I think you just have to get used to it if you want to go down that road. I'm just conscious of time, Thomas. We have about 15 minutes left or so, and we have a couple of questions in, so we'll just get Steve to go through them there.
Yeah, a question from Liam, and he's wondering, can we ask Thomas about the warning Buzz Aldrin gave about the evil to come from the Antarctic soon? What's your take on that?
I've asked extensively about Antarctica, and it's, to me, from what I'm getting, there's nothing of real importance going on. There's nothing conspiratorial, if you like, and it to me it looks like it's setting the alternative media up on a distraction route, or route, as you would say over there. Things in Antarctica, compared to what it was 40, 50 years ago, are contained. That's the best I can describe it. It's contained. So Buzz Aldrin's part of the system.
Yeah.
We lost John Glenn this week. He's part of the system.
Yeah.
They know that you don't get to them positions unless you've played the game. They're not going to pick an ordinary guy off the street, say one out of the alternative media, to go in those positions. It just doesn't happen. So they're part of the system. They're losing the system. And so this fake news and the stuff going on in Antarctica, well, the alternative media love that because it's the great unknown. Yes, it was part of the Nazi/Aldebaran base going back in the Second World War, and yes, Hitler's and his SS went through there onto Argentina when they fled, courtesy of the US government and others.
Yeah.
The Project Paperclip.
That's right, yeah.
Not just Paperclip 1 either, there was Paperclip 2 and 3. It's quite a lot of fun and games.
And again, the history in the school would teach, and I've said this to my son, so in history they'll tell you that Hitler died in the bunker with his wife. Yeah, right, okay, well, they've proven categorically that Hitler actually went to Argentina. They did a big documentary and you did all the evidence, and you have people who were apparently there who seen him there. Now, they said he died in 1994. I don't know whether that's true.
There's a few varying dates. The one I was given was 77, 78 he died.
Right, okay.
But then, of course, now you've got clone machines.
Well, this is it. I heard that he was on the old old Kool-Aid. It mightn't be the Kool-Aid that Hillary's on, but he was on the Kool-Aid to, make him younger, and that's why he lasted a bit longer.
Yeah, well, look at I'll give one person, people, an example. Look at Kissinger. Now, from my outside knowledge, Kissinger's a very old soul. Many of the positive groups have been chasing down for millennia. And he looked old 50 years ago.
Yeah.
How is he still alive? He won't be for very long. That's something people can look forward to. He won't be for very long.
So when you say that, because you do say that on your show about certain people, and they tend to. Now, I know you mentioned Tony Blair. I'm not being picky, but I know you mentioned Tony Blair about he went AWOL for a while, and then he turned up.
Yeah.
So is it a possibility that that's a clone instead of the real version?
It's possible. From what I can say, like I say, unfortunately, there's lots of things I can't say at this time. You know, the bits I put out on the show could be as low as 10% of what I'm told, because there's so many things that are operational at the moment. But there's a number of what was described recently as the walk-ins, the ones who sold out to the reptilian group, and many of them are going to die, and they're very public figures. So the danger is they're panicking over that, but they will die. And now they're trying to keep the public, and this is the good side and the bad side, from going into panic. Because if suddenly you noticed a range of politicians suddenly all vanishing in one go, the public are going into panic. What's going on? Oh, the Muslims are attacking us. You know, or the latest boogeyman. And this is the Russians. You know, the latest one. They've wheeled out the Russian issue again. You know, Russia was interfering within the U.S. election. Well, when Mrs. Trump is a KGB agent, then you understand why they're interfering.
Yeah, I tell you, we have about 10 minutes left, and Steve has a couple of questions there. Steve?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. That came in there a while ago from Joan. Just didn't get an opportunity to throw it in. Joan is wondering, Thomas, do you know anything in relation to this? The Queen, Joan says, needs to seek permission in order to enter the City of London. Is that something you know about?
Yes, it is, because she's not the head of the crown. You know, that's people are putting the two words together. Usually put the crown on, not choose the Queen. The crown and the British royalty are separate. You know, and you have to have permission to enter the Temple Bar. This goes back to the secret society stuff, of which she is a member. Because people go and look at the oath that she signed in 1950s, the Jesuit oath. It's fairly heinous. It gets into the bloodlines and the nobility and
that's another rabbit hole that we can go down.
But yes, she has to have permission to enter.
Tell us something. With the people that you get intel from, are they working on a per country basis? I mean, are there people who are in the group or from the intel, say in Ireland, are they doing their bit in Ireland, or is it just on a higher level where it's just from a EU or an American point of view, or you know, is it broken down into different groups dealing with different countries?
Well. The key was when you listened to the show, when I said we have spoken to all 209 countries. So not only do you speak to the government, you also speak to the intelligence. So the intel can come from any particular country via the government or in their intelligence network.
Right. Okay.
So, some of it comes from above, but that's minimal. And I do tend to reference that that's to do with the council, but most of the intel is ground-based. And so we're involved with all 209 countries. I mentioned recently about that they've printed a load of money in Hong Kong, and there's a load of the traditional bonds that Neil Keenan talks about, and they've got spelling mistakes on them, so it doesn't prove valid. And then you've got other pieces of paper, which is basically all it is. Those papers need to have numbers on them, and the numbers needed to be allocated by the governments of any particular country. None of the 209 governments will allocate the numbers to the cabal. So they're stuck with bunkers full of pieces of paper that has no value and cannot be used. And this is why they're trying to they're stealing out of accounts and all kinds of other stuff. They haven't got access to the main trust accounts, known as the collateral accounts, anymore. They keep trying to hack. They usually hack within 42 hours, roughly 36 to 48 hours of an announcement on the internet of the RV is coming on Tuesday morning, or if not, it's going to be 8 o'clock Wednesday morning or Thursday morning.
It keeps, they keep doing that all the time. And
then we then see the evidence was they start trying to hack into the trust accounts. They fail, but they keep trying.
So at what level, say for example the Irish government, you're in communication, or your intel, not you, but your intel is in communication. At what level would they be in communication? Like, would it be at the level of the Taoiseach, which is the Prime Minister, or would it be, as you say, it's their security, their
a mixture of both?
Yeah. And would they know that the game is up as well? Because it doesn't seem to be happening over here in Ireland. We don't see any changes whatsoever. I mean, we did see something last week we mentioned it, that they have legalised the actual medical cannabis over here in Ireland, which is brilliant. It's a step in the right direction. 80+% of people agreed that it should have been legalised, which is fantastic. That's a step in the right direction. But we still are going through, we're having American vulture funds coming over here, and we've heard about it on the Wall Street, that these vulture funds on Wall Street are coming in and buying up properties and evicting people from their homes. And people have done the research and tracked it all the way back to Wall Street. So we know that's been released. That information was sent up to me yesterday. And so we know that's going on. So, I know things can't be rushed. But at the same time, when you're dealing with people's lives and suicides and stuff, you would think that, well, maybe, we could do, the people could do something with the right resources.
Yeah, it's all about the bigger picture. If it can be ended in a week, but then we'll have no infrastructure left, and there'll only be 20% of both sides left. So, is that what people want? Would you like to be left with only 20% of the people and no infrastructure, no food, water messed up? So it's Sun Tzu, the art of war without firing weapons. It takes longer, but in essence, it's a blip in time compared to the control system.
Yeah.
Again, the only other way to end it, and you can end it tomorrow within a day, is every man, woman and child stands up and goes, I'm not tolerating this anymore.
Well,
I'm not going to work, I'm not buying you this, and I'm not buying that. We don't want your government. We want you to do this for the people. All people.
Well, I like what you said on the show. If everybody in America donated $1 a month, and that's 200 million adults in America, imagine how quick you could change things. And in Ireland, I mean, if you're talking about, say, 5 million people, if 5 million, well, say 3 million, right? It's 3 million people.
3 million adults. What can you do with 3 million a month?
Yeah, 3 million a month. Imagine the changes we could do and the things that we could do with that.
With just €1. So
yeah,
instead of waiting for saviours. We are the saviours. There's the choices you can do. It's all very simple. It's not complex.
Yeah.
It doesn't require weapons. It doesn't require government coups or any of that nonsense. It just requires the people to say, this is not the life we signed up for.
Yeah. See,
this life is unfair. So here's €1. Here's a central fund. Let's take everyone out of debt. If you take everyone out of debt, their system collapses because it's based on a debt-based system.
See, the thing is, just to finish up, but the thing is that it's people getting the trust and saying, because there's, loads of groups have come and gone. And there's people that have come in and promised loads of things, and you end up that they were cowboys and money has disappeared. And I think people are so fed up with it now, they just look at something, even if you started that and said, oh yeah, I'm not going to trust that, even though it's genuine. Yeah,
it was like me, I was a bit uncomfortable starting off with the foundation and thinking, am I just somebody else who's going to promise things and not deliver? And time's gone on. It's 7 or 8 months now.
Yeah.
I know the reason why, but then people could always see it as an excuse. And I do get that.
Yeah.
And I want it more than anybody because it would make the changes. But what the foundations will do is it then pushes the responsibility onto the people.
Yeah.
Not government to fix it, or politicians or police or any authority. We have to fix it.
Yeah.
And this is where we are selling ourselves short. We, the people, are selling ourselves short by not stepping up and going, we're not playing the game.
Well, I think that's going to be, we'll finish there, but I think that's going to be our swan song, if you want to call it that, to say to people, how can you fix the problem? Oh, it's easy. Let's get to 3 million adults to donate €1 a month, and we can actually change the system, in a few months maybe, with the amount of money that you collect, or maybe €4 a month, which will speed up the process even quicker. There's the solution. And they look, and I know people will look and go, that's a bit simple, isn't it? Well, yeah, of course it is, yeah.
Because it is.
It is.
Everything is simple.
Yeah.
It's only them telling you everything's complicated.
Yeah.
Like science. No, it's not complicated. It's complicated because they've taught you false truth.
Yeah.
That's why it's complicated.
Yeah.
The truth is very simple.
It is. And that's what we should be looking at. All right, Thomas, we're going to let you go. Thanks a lot for coming on. And,
thank you.
It was a great interview, great information there. I hope you have a great Christmas anyway. I know you're going to be probably on the beach in your shorts. Well, we'll be freezing our nuts off over here in Ireland. But there you go. But big thank you for coming on. I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your information off you there.
Yeah, I'm so jealous now. I'm going to wear shorts next week. I don't care what the temperature is. I don't care. Anyway, Thomas, it's fantastic having you on.
Pictures.
Oh, do. Oh, please do.
Yeah.
We'll send pictures back to you. Just to let you see what you're missing. Wish you were here. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, Thomas, give us. We actually have the Truth, Honour and Integrity Facebook page link. I have it there. I've already posted it. Do you want to just throw out the links where people can find you and maybe check out your live show on Thursday?
Yes, the live show. Well, if you sign up to the Facebook page, it's on the pinned post. It generally gets put up Sunday night or Monday night with a link to listen to the show live. The archive of the show also goes on the Facebook page straight after it. So if you don't, obviously the people in Europe tend to listen to it the following day. There's also a YouTube. If you type in Tommy Williams, Truth, Honour and Integrity, you'll find the list of all the shows there. And if people want to go to the foundation website, it's called thepeoplesclub.org.
Okay.
So that's
fantastic. Super duper. All right, Tom, stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off 2 minutes. We'll break. We'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
And we're back. Yes, just as Holly Johnson said there in the closing moments of that song, that great song, the power of love. Make love your goal. Yeah, as Alan said earlier on, the frequency is love. Love is the frequency.
That's it. That's what we need to focus on.
Make more love.
That's it. Make love, not war.
Yes.
Now, next week, as I say, it's going to be the annual review, which is what we do. So it's only going to be me and Steve, and that's all.
God love us.
And if you want to, it's going to kind of unofficial kind of talking about the shows and the people we had on the shows. And we're going to have a competition. We're going to give away 2 free T-shirts and stickers. We don't know what the questions are going to be. We don't know how we're going to get you to communicate, because we want to try and make it fair for our international listeners as well, and not just the Irish listeners. So maybe the phone will be the best option, I think. Not email, but maybe
or
the
answers
phone.
On a postcard, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Stamped addressed envelope. That sounds familiar, yeah?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So we'll do that for next week, and we, as I say, it's just the annual review, and then after that, the date would be the 25th, and we'd be killed if we did a show on the 25th.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. So on our first week back, we have booked in Daniel Laverity for the first show, which is January 1st, and Daniel's going to give us her kind of spiritual take of the tarot cards and stuff like that, all about what's going to happen in 2017. Let's kick off the year with some predictions and energy and what's going to happen. So we'll have a bit of fun with Danielle, and we'll have a chat to her on the 1st of January. And then the week after that, we have David Icke coming on. That's the plan. And David will be on till about 8 o'clock, I think. We might go over. We'll see what happens. So there's a few other guests that we need to kind of fit in as well, so we're just working on that. So what will happen is, as soon as next week's show is over, we'll change the schedule, and we'll put the 2017 schedule on for next year, and then you'll actually see what's happening and who's coming on. There is a chap that we want to get on that I am currently on email talking to at the moment via email regarding the birth certificates and how he's found a way apparently that you can get your money from your birth certificate. Quite interesting.
Oh, very nice. Be nice this side of Christmas, though.
There's only one problem. To join this club, you have to pay a few quid.
Oh, okay. Like a €5,
so
is it?
I don't know whether he has a DVD or a book, but yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens anyway. The information would be interesting either way, because normally when you hear about this, it's always the American side. And I said that to him. He goes, "Oh no, this is right across the board." And I went, okay, well, we'll get him on and hopefully do an interview and talk to him about it and see what happens. So that's on the cards, and I say a few other people that we have planned in. But we'll have a kind of well-earned break, hopefully. And just a quick note as well is that there's a scam going around at the moment, and the Gardaí, which is the Irish police, are warning people and saying there's people getting phone calls from so-called the Inland Revenue, which is the IRS in America, and basically what happens is the person will say that you owe money to the revenue, and they'll give you a number that you have to ring, and you ring that number and give them your credit card details. Why somebody would fall for that scam, I don't know, because it's so bloody obvious, but there you go. So if you do get any phone calls from anybody like that saying it's the revenue, then I would query it.
And if those voices on the other end of the phone just happen to sound like Alan or I, that's just a coincidence.
Well, funny you should say that. Actually, I don't know whether I said this on the show, but very quickly, I had somebody knock at the door, and they were selling a service, and I said to him, "Well, thanks, but no thanks," and we having a talk, and he turned around, and he said, "Are you Alan from OYM?"
Yeah, you did tell us that one.
Did I tell you that story?
Yes.
And so I couldn't ring up somebody and go, "Yeah, I want to kill you." I couldn't do any of that because my accent or my voice might be recognisable.
And then this new technology that you spoke of 2 weeks ago,
yes.
Photoshop for your voice.
Yeah, no, definitely does. That's quite worrying, that is. But I have been catching up. Would you believe? I was watching during the week the old Equalizer from years ago in the 80s.
Edward Woodward. Can't beat him.
Or some people used to call him the Tranquilizer because they used to put him asleep.
I used to enjoy that show, actually.
I did. I enjoyed the show. Streaming service, Cody, get it. It's free. Download it. You can do it. You can watch all them movies there. But that's the plan of attack, really. Nothing else there on the list. Watch out for the fake news, as we said. Question everything and query everything, because there's so much of it now on the internet, YouTube and everything else. I'm seeing a plethora of just fake news everywhere. People, they ramped up the whole fake news thing, so just be careful and question things, as Thomas said. And that's the plan of attack. We've nothing else on the cards at the moment. As I say, we are winding down now for the Christmas bit. A few things on the go. As I say, there's a business during the week regarding a visit from the sheriff. We are hoping to meet a couple of people maybe during the week regarding one or two ideas that people have suggested or we're talking about. But I do think, Steve, isn't it, how quick would we solve everything if 3 million adults in Ireland donated €1 a month?
If it was going to the right for the the right cause, then yes, we would make leaps and bounds. Absolutely, we would make headway leaps and bounds.
We could solve so many things overnight. We could
solve a lot of the homeless issues.
Definitely,
the hunger issues.
Yeah. So the solution is there, folks. The solution's there. Start telling your friends and family about it. And if people say, "Oh, what can we do?" Well, what can we do? Just tell them. It's very easy. Donate €1 a month to, obviously we get a proper group together and have everything transparent and so everybody can see everything. And there you go. It's people power sorting the problem out. That's the way it is. Will we get there? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see you next week. So for myself, Alan James, take it easy, stay safe, watch the roads. It is winter and there might be icy roads there. Be careful. And if you can get a set of jump leads, do that. It might be handy.
Will they help with the ice, the jump leads?
Not really, no. But just in case your battery's flat or somebody else's battery is flat, do the nice thing. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, I've got 30 seconds. So, I'll see. We'll catch you all again next week. Again, a message from someone on People's Internet Radio. Can't remember who it was. Politicians do care for us, just like a farmer cares for his stock. I love that. I think that's absolutely well worth repeating, but I won't because I haven't got time. Seemingly, microwaves, according to a BBC documentary, microwaves are completely safe. They had some expert on. He went around with a meter around the microwave, and there was no radiation leak, no detection leak whatsoever, or leak detection.
Pull the other one that has bells on it.
Yes, and I believe the microwave probably wasn't running at the time, because we have different information from Walter Graham. And sound waves cures tremors, hand tremors in a man in the UK. I think it was the UK anyway. So they're going to try and use this, roll it out for Parkinson's. They're going to trial it anyway for Parkinson's. So there we go. Anyway, look, we'll catch you all again next week. We'll have a fantastic show. Again, if you're listening to this on the podcast, drop us a quick email. Definitely tune in next week. We're going to have a bit of fun. And don't forget the competition as well. Stay tuned on People's Internet Radio for Vin. We're going to terminate the stream now. And we'll do it all again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.